It's our annual Summer Pro Bowl list. We are back with a new Locked On Lions.
You are Locked On Lions, your daily Detroit Lions podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody, what's happening? We are back with another episode and another week of Locked On Lions right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Matt Derry with you. We are back and better than ever on a Monday, July 8th, refreshed from vacation into Tuesday, July 9th. Thanks for making us your first listen and checking us out wherever you get your podcasts. It is great to be back. Locked On Lions today, brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more as playoffs wind down. The sports stop sporting like we want them to, right? But this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. Something for everyone every day, all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Great to be back from vacay. You can follow us on Twitter at Derry Speaks, at Locked On Lions on Twitter, Matt Derry Facebook fan page. And as always, please subscribe and watch us for free on our Locked On Lions YouTube channel. We have our Speak Pipe tomorrow, our call of the day. If you want to be on voicemail, you want to contribute to the show, you got something you want to say, keep it clean, please. Go to speakpipe.com/Derry podcast page. That's speakpipe, pipe.com/Derry, DERY podcast page. And we will play the best one tomorrow, the call of the day tomorrow, right here on Locked On Lions. Coming up on the show today, it is back. It is our list. We've been doing this for 8 years. Who's going to be a first-time Pro Bowler on the Lions this year? We run it down from 5 down to 1, 5 being biggest long shot, 1 being the guy who's likely going to do it. That does not include, of course, the Lions, any Lion player that has been in a Pro Bowl before. First-time Pro Bowler. So Kevin Zeitler's out. Jared Goff is out. Sewell, all those guys. We will get into that coming up momentarily here on the program. Mark Schlereth from the Stinkin Truth Podcast had a very nice thing to say about the Lions. I want to play you that audio coming up momentarily here as well. And Lions versus Wings, Tigers, and Pistons has reared its ugly head yet again with what has taken place over the last couple of weeks with free agency and the drafts and everything else. And I want to chime in on that as well right here on Locked On Lions. A lot of you hit me up on social media. You missed the show. We were off last week. I'll just share with you, and I rarely go into personal stuff on the show. But last week, my wife and I were in Jamaica. We enjoy going over there. It's a yearly trip for us. We love it. We usually go around July 4th. Going back to my days when I was teaching school at U of D Jesuit High School, it was always easy to take vacation in the summer. Yes, Hurricane Beryl did approach the island and where we were. Luckily, we were on the north side, didn't get hit that hard, but you sit there and you think about it, and you think about what the people went through there and everybody that has been in this range of the hurricane. And so I survived my first hurricane. A little bit scary, but thanks to the folks at the resort we were at and a bunch of people that were around us and some friends that we met there, especially those from Florida and other states that have been through this, they sort of calmed us down. But I'm back. We are back and refreshed and ready to give you a full week of shows right here on Locked On Lions. If you're new to the podcast, welcome. Thank you for being here. Thanks for checking us out. Please tell your friends about us. We want to bring you great guests, great opinions, and takes each and every day right here on Locked On Lions. And we're in July now. So we are approaching a few weeks from training camp with the rookies report in 12 days, I think. Fantastic stuff. All right, here's something that we do each and every year at this time. We look at the roster and we go from 5 to 1, top 5 players that could be first-time Pro Bowlers on the Lions roster. Now, again, last year, the Lions had Jared Goff, Penei Sewell, Sam Laporta, Aiden Hutchinson, Jalen Reeves-Maybin, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Frank Ragnow all were at the Pro Bowl. Gibbs was added late. So was St. Brown, as they were alternates, but they were there. So I'm counting Jahmyr Gibbs as making the Pro Bowl. So he is not on this list. I mentioned before, Kevin Zeitler has been to a Pro Bowl before, was in the Pro Bowl last year as a member of the Baltimore Ravens. So he is not eligible for this as well. DJ Reader has made Pro Bowls before with the Cincinnati Bengals. So he does not count on this list either. So it is players that have never been to the Pro Bowl. All right. So we're going from 5 to 1. So I got 5 names. Number 1 being the guy I think is going to make it. That is the best chance, to 5. So I look at the list of players. I see them. There's one guy on the list that I mention every year. Every year he's on this list. This poor guy can never make the Pro Bowl, but he is not number 5 today. Our number 5 player is Terrion Arnold, the rookie corner from Alabama. Now, some of you are going to say, wait a minute. No rookies make the Pro Bowl. Well, number 1, last year the Lions had not 1, but 2 rookies that were there. Jahmyr Gibbs and Sam Laporta. Those 2 guys had tremendous years. If Terrion Arnold has the kind of year that Gibbs had or Laporta has, look out. The Lions are going to be really, really good. And we already know they're going to be good. But the rookie Terrion Arnold, of course, first round pick of the Lions, the corner from Alabama, whom Brad Holmes traded up to go get, has a chance, I think, to be a really, really good football player. And I think is going to be on the field. I was reading over the break here over vacation about Amik Robertson. Maybe we'll get into this tomorrow. Hey, I'm not just some bit player. I'm not just some slot corner, third down guy. He wants to be on the field all the time. So the competition that's going to go on during training camp is going to be unbelievable, especially in that cornerback room. Carlton Davis, Amik Robertson, Terrion Arnold, Ennis Rakestraw, all of them. Kendall Vildor is going to want to still play. Brian Branch. There are a lot of excellent corners. And again, there's no rhyme or reason. There's no lock that Branch is going to be a corner. They can move him to safety. But I'm going with Terrion Arnold at number 5 on my list today. Now let's talk about him for a second. Could he make the Pro Bowl as a rookie? Very difficult to do. And you ask yourself, well, who are the cornerbacks that were down in Orlando? Was it Orlando or Vegas? Who were in Vegas, whatever, last year from the NFC? Well, you had Jalen Ramsey. You had Darius Slay, former Lion, Tariq Woolen, Trayvon Diggs, and you had Jair Alexander. So it's going to be a little bit difficult for a guy like Terrion Arnold, just a rookie, to leapfrog some of those big names. But let's say this. Let's say Jair Alexander gets unhappy, which is possible, and gets traded at the deadline and goes over to the AFC. Let's just say that a guy like Jalen Ramsey, gets injured. There's all sorts of possibilities here when we take a look at names that were on the list. A guy like Tariq Woolen is really, really good in Seattle, man. Darius Slay seems to make it every year. And a lot of times these guys make it on reputations. Big Play Slay did not have the kind of year last year that he normally has, right? When you look at these type of lists. But regardless, these are the kind of names that Terrion Arnold is up against if he wants to make the Pro Bowl. And I think it's a long shot, but he's got a chance. This is a rookie that has played in massive games at Alabama. This is a rookie that probably in most years in the draft is not going at 23, 24, 25, 26. He's going more around 13, 14, 15, 16. He's a really good football player. He's putting the work in already. He's been in town. He stayed in town. Terrion Arnold, just with his size, with his speed, his ability to play the football, has a chance to be a really, really good one. And I know Brad Holmes was just thrilled to get an opportunity to have Terrion Arnold there to select and to move up into draft and to kind of swipe him away and steal him away from the Green Bay Packers in the first round when the Lions traded up to take Terrion Arnold. So I think there's a really good chance that he could make it as a Pro Bowler. I think eventually, maybe not the first year, but hey, I looked at the roster and I said, first time Pro Bowlers, because the Lions now have a lot of Pro Bowlers. Terrion Arnold, number 5. We will give you number 4 tomorrow, right here on Locked On Lions, and what I'm thinking about. All right, coming up next, you're going to hear from Mark Schlereth. CBS, or is he Fox? Fox NFL analyst, also former, of course, Pro Bowl offensive lineman, Super Bowl champion, and a guy that knows a little bit about the NFL as an NFL analyst, was on his podcast, the Stinkin Truth Podcast, with some very nice things to say about the Lions. We'll play you that audio coming up next. But first, we got to tell you about our friends at FanDuel. I love sports. I love them so much. I never want them to stop. But right now, playoffs are done. Hockey's done. NBA's done. We really got baseball. And that's it. We get fewer games, right? WNBA too, and some other things, golf. But the sports aren't sportsing like we're used to. But FanDuel can keep the sports going for you whenever you want. All you got to do is open up the app and dream up bets anytime that you are in the mood. This summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. That means put some money down tonight. Tigers, Guardians, start of a 4-game series. Detroit with a sweep over the weekend, coming and playing good baseball. Do it all at FanDuel. All right. Official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. Head on over to FanDuel.com. Matt Derry back with you. Great to be back from vacation and another week of Locked On Lions right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Indeed, your team every day. Thanks for making us your first listen, checking us out wherever you get your podcasts, and of course, watching us on our Locked On Lions YouTube channel. All right, I promised this audio for you. This is Mark Schlereth, NFL analyst from the Stinkin Truth Podcast from Odyssey, discussing the Detroit Lions. Now, if you recall, on my old radio show at 105.1, we used to have Stink on all the time, especially when he's working at ESPN. Now he's an analyst on Fox Games, working with Adam Amin. He does a really good job, and I respect his football knowledge. Take a listen to what Mark Schlereth had to say about the Lions this upcoming season. Really good stuff.
This is a stacked roster, but they start with toughness. Their general manager, Brad Holmes, has done a really good job of putting people in place. I love the Detroit Lions. You walk into that building, the energy in that building is through the roof, and I credit Dan Campbell for that.
Do you think Dan Campbell dials back the aggressiveness, the go for it nature a little bit this year after what happened last year?
No, I
don't think so.
I don't. I think that's the way he wants to play. He wants to, and he just wants to be like, hey man, I want to take my guys knowing that the odds are we're going to go for it on fourth down takes the pressure off on third down. They have more duality on third down than any team in the NFL.
All right, so there is Mark Schlereth from the Stinkin Truth Podcast. And the biggest takeaway, and first of all, that's awesome. You love hearing national folks lauding your team. You love hearing former players lauding your team and knowing full well what the Lions and what our team is all about in this city. What I find interesting about that was when he was asked about Dan Campbell this year, Schlereth made it a point to say nothing's going to change. He doesn't feel like Dan Campbell, because the team has high expectations, because the team made it to the NFC Championship game last year, is going to change, is going to go away with what has been working for him, which is aggressiveness, sometimes making calls on fourth downs that are head scratching, but it's the nature of the beast. It's how the game is being played right now. Might not be the smartest move all the time. All right. Dan Campbell's going to make some mistakes. All right. He made some mistakes in the NFC Championship game. He made some mistakes in his first year in Minnesota, all sorts of things. All right. No coach is perfect. But what Stink was saying is spot on. Why should the Lions change who they are? And I love what he said about third down. The reason why the Lions are so aggressive on fourth down is they know on third down, they can relax. If it's 3rd and 9 and they know they can get St. Brown on the outside, maybe, or just going from the slot to the outside on just a quick post that goes out of bounds that leaves them at 4th and 3, it's 2 down territory. They don't feel like they have to call 3rd and 15. They don't feel like they have to get all 15 on 3rd down because they have been programmed for the last couple of years under offensive coordinator Ben Johnson. They know if they're in decent field goal range or they're not somewhere where they're going to be really dumb and call a 4th and 5 from their own 10-yard line. No, you punt the football. You punt it from the 20. You punt it from the 30. Probably punt it from your own 40. But the array of plays, the duality that Schlereth talked about, being able to run the football. How many times did we see last year a 3rd and 9 or 3rd and 10 running play? A Montgomery hit, a Gibbs hit that got them a 1st down or got them 8 or 9 yards. And you go, man, Lions are running on 3rd and 11. What are they doing? The hole just opened up because they know it's 2-down territory. Dan Campbell is going to call another play, or Ben Johnson calling the plays, but Dan Campbell is going to order that 4th down call to be an offensive play. And, Mark Schlereth has been there. He's been with good coaches and coordinators. He's been in the Lions room. He's done games here. So, Friday's coming in and checking out a walkthrough or whatever. And I love that. I love that he said they're not going to go away from who they are. The Lions have built an identity that's working. Some will argue. There are plenty that are arguing. Some of you watching and listening right now are arguing. Yeah, but Dan Campbell should have kicked the 47-yard field goal with Badgley in San Francisco. Momentum, dumb call. Oh my God, what are they doing? It cost them the game. No, I think Josh Reynolds' drops were a bigger cause of the loss in San Francisco. I think the Gibbs fumble cost them. I think the fact that Cam Sutton and Kindle Vildor were having to guard Debo and Ayuk cost them. The Lions have addressed that. I don't think Dan Campbell is going to change. Could it turn out to bite them a little bit? We'll see. We'll see. They got a kicking competition going on. We'll see if Dan Campbell elects to maybe allow, if Jake Bates makes the team, kick some 60-yarders. Because mostly in that range, it's always been Lions going for it. Because Dan has faith in Ben Johnson, Jared Goff, and the offensive unit to get the job done. So despite the expectations now, the bullseye that's going to be on their back, the bar being raised, the goalpost being moved, I'm with Mark Schlereth. I don't think anything's going to change. Why? This is who the Lions are. This is what they've built. They're not all of a sudden going to go by the book because, well, that's what we're supposed to do. We were cute for 3 years, going from 3 to 9 to 11 in terms of wins, or 12, 3, 9 to 12. But now we've got to just reel it in. No, I don't think that's what Dan Campbell's going to do. I don't think that's what he's going to do. So really like that audio from Mark Schlereth, who is well respected, and check out the Stinkin Truth Podcast, I believe, on Odyssey and wherever you get your podcasts, talking about your Detroit Lions. All right. Lions are in great shape. All right. We're getting training camp in a few weeks. Expectations are high. Everybody feels like this could be a Super Bowl year. What about what's been going on with some of the other teams in town, namely the winter sports? You get some perspective on where the Lions are when you see what the other teams in town are doing, don't you? Because a lot of you are fans of all four majors. You're a Tiger fan, you're a Wings fan, you're a Pistons fan, you're a Lions fan. I have a discussion about that. We'll do that next, right here on a Monday edition of Locked On Lions. And Locked On Lions brought to you today by our friends at eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay guaranteed fit, only available to U.S. customers. Want to thank my buddy Alex Clancy from the Locked On Cardinals. I may get into this at some point this week, or maybe even have Alex back on the show here. But I went on Alex's show right before I left for vacation, and he had me on to talk about how the Cardinals, Monty Ossenfort and Jonathan Gannon and that crew in Arizona are trying to emulate Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell, the way they're drafting, the way they're building the team. And a lot of people feel like the Cardinals could be a team that goes from last place to first place, maybe in the NFC West. I mean, they're not going to overtake San Francisco, you wouldn't think, but Arizona is a team to watch. And Alex Clancy had me on to talk about how the Lions did it, because the Cardinals are trying to do it that same way. So a very, very interesting conversation. All right. Last week was a big week for the Detroit Pistons, their new president of basketball operations, Trajan Langdon, and a big week for the Detroit Red Wings with the draft, free agency, and of course their GM, local legend, former captain, Steve Yzerman. Steve Yzerman said last week, let's start with the Red Wings, that the team this year might look the same as last year in terms of where they finish. And he's not putting any expectations on playoffs or bust, despite the fact that this hockey team and hockey town and this outfit haven't made the playoffs in a decade. It's the longest drought they think they've ever had. And Yzerman didn't promise, despite a lot of fans feeling like, all right, last year they nearly made the playoffs. They made a great run at the end of the regular season. There's a lot of excitement around the team. Lucas Raymond was scoring goals at will. Mo Sider, all this stuff. Got to be playoffs this year, right, Steve? Got to be. And Steve went, we'll see. This team might be right around the same place next year where we just don't get in. And it's like, what? Why won't you go out and get aggressive and go get Steven Stamkos? By the way, you don't think Yzerman didn't want Stamkos? Of course he did. But again, at the very top is where it all begins and starts. Wings add, and I don't want to make this into Locked On Red Wings. Watch Brian Fisher host that show, but they had Tarasenko. Okay, but then they had to trade Fabry. Red Wings are not going for it. They're not. They're not. This rebuild is slow. Lions, and again, different sports, but still, there's a lot of teams that make the playoffs in the NBA and the NHL. 8 on each side with the conferences. Pistons added some nice pieces. They needed some shooting. Malik Beasley can shoot. Tim Hardaway Jr. can shoot. Neither of them can defend, but they can shoot. Tobias Harris, he's nice. He's a nice guy, good player, solid player. But it wasn't like they took the most cap space in the NBA and just, went crazy with it. It's going to take more time, and it's another rebuild with another new front office and another new head coach. So again, my point is these teams are going really, really slow. It's a slow progression. They're telling you, be patient. Rookie president of basketball, a head coach in Bickerstaff that is known for developing young players. We got to develop our young talent. That means you're not winning. The Red Wings, general manager admitting it's not playoffs or bust. Whereas the team up the road in Allen Park at 222 Rodwood Drive there in beautiful Allen Park / Dearborn. What are they telling you with what they're doing? We're going for the Super Bowl. Heck, Sheila Hamp said it when they had the fashion show with the new uniforms. She's like, we love all these trophies we got last year, including winning the division, but we want the big one. The owners talk about the Lombardi Trophy. The Lions, the Detroit Lions. It gives you some perspective on the giant gap between the Lions and where the other 3 teams are in town. And it's just this past week just reminded you of it again. If you're hoping for a championship for one of your teams, you're saddling up to one horse, the Detroit Lions. Baseball team's not close. Hockey team tells you they're not close. And we know the basketball team isn't. Wow. It's wild, isn't it? Wild. And it's refreshing because what Sheila has done is brought in people that, and again, Brad and Dan told you early to be patient, but then the amount of talent that's been drafted and developed here, the guys that have been brought in, has turned this thing upside down so quickly. Like I said, from 3-9 to 14 wins, if you count the 2 playoff games last year, that 2 playoff wins now last year, that it just has sped up the transition. It has sped up the rebuild, and all the credit goes to Sheila and yes, Rod, Chris Spielman, Holmes, Campbell, everybody. It's awesome. It's why you watch and you're listening to this podcast. You want fans I was getting hit up, and I appreciate all the tweets at Derry Speaks. And where are you? Why? I got to take my week off. I got to take my vacation. I got to do it. But man, this is exciting. It is awesome that the Lions are in this position. And a lot of fans and a lot of prognosticators, experts, whatever you want to call them, some are saying, we'll get into prediction season soon, they can sense that this Lions team is not satisfied with where they are, and they want to be in that big game next year, which would be crazy. Absolutely crazy. All right, Locked On Lions for a Monday. Thanks for making us your first listen, checking us out wherever you get your podcasts. We're back again tomorrow with a fresh episode.